And now it's Deborah Kobylt Live.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today on Deborah Kobylt Live. Our show today is sponsored by Sambuco. We'll be talking about that a little later on in our show. Please welcome Deborah Driggs. She's here to talk to us about reinvention, and boy, does she know a lot about that. Thanks a lot for joining us today, Deb.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It's always an honor and a privilege to share my story and, yeah, absolutely talk about reinvention because I've done that quite a few times.
No, you have. I mean, you're an author and you're currently also working on a book. You are a 3-time Playboy cover girl, which is pretty amazing. Yep. You are a top salesperson. Is that what you call it? In life insurance, you've had ups and you've had downs, and you have learned how to reinvent yourself and come out on top for you. And one of your great quotes that I love this. Aging gracefully is a full-time job. We're going to talk about that too. Thanks again for being here with us. You're just such a delight. Talk to me about reinvention, because you've done so much. You've also attended so many seminars about reinvention and feeling good. How did you discover what works for you?
Through trial and error, through lots and lots of mistakes, and I don't think there's any successful human out there that doesn't have a lot of failure stories that got to kind of the peak of success. And for me, it was a lot of mistakes. It was a lot of hardships, things that brought me to my knees, things like grief, divorce, trauma, whatever you want to call it. When you go through those things, you have to kind of dig a little deeper, get a little stronger. And, I always say, put your knee pads on and start over. And I say that because it's not easy, so I applaud anybody who goes through anything that's really hard, a hardship or something that, you have to reinvent, you have to start over, and you pull through it. And, I think a lot of times too, and I was just writing about this the other day, I think a lot of times that most people really, really remember the climb. They don't really, everybody sees the final result, the success, everybody goes, oh my God, you were the #1 this, or you were on the cover of Playboy, but nobody ever saw the climb, the things that I did that led to those supposed successes. You know what I mean? Whatever it looks like in the general public way, you're missing all the grit and the good stuff that you do in the dark. There's a great YouTube video with Michael Phelps. I think it's Under Armour. It was a commercial for Under Armour, and it's what we do in the dark that matters. And it's true. It really is. It's what we do in the dark. It's what we do when no one's looking.
You said that your parents went through a tough divorce and you were a skater, right? Skating got you through. But do you also think that you were born as someone who's got a lot of just resilience? Because you also have said that you just keep going. You won't let it stop you. Where a lot of people will just be like, oh my God, no. Talk to me a little bit about the resilience.
Yeah, to go to the skating point, ice skating gave me tools that I probably would not have gotten anywhere else. I got so many life lessons, life skills. I learned how to take direction. I learned how to listen to coaches and people that were guiding me. I didn't have that guidance at home. My parents were really young when they had me, and they just did not have those skills. And I can see that now in my life. But what saved me was the skills that the people had. I had a ballet coach, I had an ice skating coach, and then I had a main coach. So I had all these different mentors and coaches. And when I fell down, I got back up, because that was the coach's job, was to keep you from you're no good to anybody if you're on the ground. You're no good to anybody if you fall down and you stay down. You got to get back up. And those are the lessons I got from ice skating. Was I born with this resilience? I don't know. That's only for the universe to know, really. I don't know. I mean, there is something inside of me that definitely has a very optimistic point of view. I definitely have a hard time sometimes understanding, one of my character defects is I have a hard time understanding other people's points of views, because I'm like, wait, can't you see that this will all work out? And I have that attitude. That might be something that came with me in my gene pool, but I definitely like to look at the optimistic side of things. And I just know that, no matter how bad it gets, it doesn't last. And that took me a long time to really understand that. That comes with maturity, because, when you're young, you think, oh my God, this feeling's never going to end, or this event is never going to end. It's just always going to be this way. And that's not true. And I had to remove the word always and never out of my vocabulary, because things aren't always a certain way, and they're not never going to be. If somebody said, oh, that will never happen, well, we have lots of examples of that not being true. Things happen. So yeah, I mean, was I born with it? I don't know, but I do know that ice skating definitely gave me skills that I would have not, probably what saved my life, to be really honest with you, because I think as I got older, I would fall back into those things that I learned on the ice that were hard lessons.
You've been a VJ, right? You've acted in some pretty obviously well-known TV shows, but let's start, if you will, with when you were called in for Playboy. And I love how you sort of decided you weren't going to do what they initially asked you to do. Can you talk to us about that a little bit, would you?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, my career started in 1983, 1984. I started modeling, doing catalog work and swimsuit. And, I worked on a show called The Fashion Channel before QVC, before Home Shopping Network. This was a show called The Fashion Channel, and I was a model on the show. So I had a career, and I was living in LA, and I wasn't a girl that moved to LA to be in Playboy. So when my agent called me and said, Playboy wants to interview you for a cover for a book they're coming out with called The Lingerie Book, my first question was, well, is there nudity involved? And she said, I don't think so. It's for the cover. So I went to the famous building on Sunset Boulevard that I had driven by thousands of times. It was a very iconic building on Sunset. And I went in and I signed in, and they gave me a robe and said, take everything off. We're going to do some Polaroids. And so I didn't take everything off, because I thought, oh, they're confusing me with somebody who's here to pose nude. And so I left my undergarments on, and that was normal back then. Swimsuit auditions, you left, so they could see your body. And in 1989, they were looking for scars, tattoos, piercings, whatever. It was a different world. Lots of airbrushing, where that's different today. So I came out, and I had I had my kind of tank top and bikini pants on, and they said, no, we need to see your whole body. And I said, oh, I'm not here for that. I'm here for the cover of the lingerie book. And they did what you did. They kind of laughed. And so I leave the audition, and I thought, well, that didn't go well. And, that's not a big deal, because I didn't aspire to do Playboy. So, but when I got home, I had a message on my answering machine back then, that said, we want to test you to be a centerfold. And I literally said, they got me confused with somebody else. And I called my agent, and she said, no, it's true. They want to shoot you to be a centerfold for 1990. And I said, are you sure? I think they're confusing me, because I didn't even do well in the audition. And sure enough, I got a call from the chief editor of Playboy, Marilyn Kowalski, and she said, no, we want to test you. You're exactly the look that we want.
And the attitude, probably. It's like, hey, look at that girl. She's not going to take nothing from anybody. It's like, I love that. Okay, wait. But when you went in and you finally shot for the centerfold, did you then have to take it all off? Obviously.
Took it all off. Absolutely. And, I have to tell you, it was very, business. There was
Yeah,
nothing,
no,
there was nothing creepy or weird about it. And I, weirdly enough, I think just because of all the swim, I was the body glove swim girl, and I had done a lot of work for Ocean Pacific. So I was used to being in a swimsuit, and I was used to
right.
changing on the beach. You know how they put the towel up and you change on the beach for the next shoot, so I was used to kind of like my body being an instrument. And so it didn't feel odd to me at all. And it actually was one of the most beautiful photo shoots. I had Richard Fegley, who was just one of the most amazing photographers for Playboy. I was lucky enough to work with him. And it was a great, yeah.
So sorry. You were the centerfold how many times and the cover girl of Playboy how many times? Because
so
I'm getting
centerfold once. I was March 1990, and I was on the cover of Playboy several times. Ironically, I was the centerfold for March 1990, which is now a collector's item because Donald Trump is on the cover of my issue. Who knew? So now I get more fan mail today than I did back then because it's a collector's item. And then I was on the cover of April 1990, the following month. So I had back to back.
Hang on though. Let's go back to Donald Trump a second. So back then, right, you were the centerfold to his cover. Didn't he call you? He wanted to take you on a date and all that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. Why not? He was divorced at the time. And what's really funny is I had booked the Bob Hope special in Acapulco, and the skit that I did with Bob Hope was Bob Hope played Donald Trump and I played the chambermaid trying to sneak around Yvonne. It was just a whole funny script. And so I had told Donald, I said, oh, I just got back from Acapulco and I did a skit about you. And so, yeah, he wanted to fly me to New York. And we talked on the phone a couple times, but I have to tell you, he was very kind and I kind of referred to him as being very vanilla, just very kind. And I wasn't very excited about going to New York. I was very young and he was a little intimidating back then. I was also in a 2-year acting program that I had signed a contract saying that I would not miss any acting classes for 2 years. It was Meisner technique. And I was very committed to that. And so I couldn't just jet set, the jobs that I took revolved around my acting class. At that time, I was very committed for 2 years to that. So I never met him in person. We spoke on the phone a couple times, and I don't have any, there's nothing, I don't have any weird stories or anything. I actually found him to be very kind and very nice.
Yes, I knew him in the early 90s when he was, filing for those bankruptcies in Atlantic City. And I was a very young reporter at a school, and he was always respectful to me. I could tell what he was up to. It was kind of transparent, but he didn't even ask me out. So there you go. So
there you go. Yeah.
I didn't even get that, but he was busy with he was very busy with Marla at the time. So,
yes.
But I know what you mean. He was kind of all business, and he could, tell who, he sort of, he was all right then. But let me just pivot a little bit, because you've had so many well-known people in your life. You've roomed with Pam Anderson, right? You
Yep.
were the VJ, right? If people don't even know what that is. And
I was
then
a VJ. I was the VJ for Playboy's Hot Rocks. It was the first. They had called me right after I had done my centerfold, and they called and said, "We're doing a show that's going to show all the music videos, excuse me, that MTV and VH1 will not show. They're going to be very risque. There's going to be nudity, and so we need a fun VJ for the show." So we did a test, and I had so much fun doing the show. So I was their first VJ for Playboy's Hot Rocks. And so we showed all the videos that the other shows wouldn't show.
Right. And after that, right, you sort of paved the way for Jenny McCarthy, correct?
Yep, she took over the show because I left. I left to go do a film, my first film with Michael Nuri. Total Exposure. It's called Total Exposure, and with Promark Films. And it was the first film that I had booked. And so And I was really focused on really acting, and so it was perfect timing. She took over, and so yeah, I've had all these kind of like, you know, yeah, I've had these interesting turns, in my career.
But then, of course, you got married, and you have how many children?
I have 3 adult children now.
Right. But at the time when you got married, of course, you had 3 young children. You moved to Utah.
Yep.
And decided to sort of take a pause, right? And raise those kids. I believe you were on morning TV there in Utah.
Yeah, I hosted the Mountain Morning Show, which was a live, unscripted 2-hour morning show, which would actually paid no money. And it ended up being one of the most favorite jobs that I had done, because it actually showcased everything that I had worked up to at this point with acting, hosting. It kind of encompassed everything. And so I found it to be so rewarding. And like I said, no money. So that just tells you something right there, that some of the most amazing things that can happen have nothing to do with money.
But when that didn't work out for you, the marriage, you came back. And that's when I believe you did a lot of your soul searching, right? Because you had given up work, some of the work you did here in Los Angeles, to move to Utah to raise a family. And then when you came back here, was there ever a time you just felt a little bit lost? How did you end up in the world of business and selling life insurance? And you are one of the most successful people in that business in the country.
Thank you.
Yeah. Please explain this to us.
So I think even though, I have a very huge creative side, I also have a side of myself that is very business oriented and very organized. And so when I got divorced, I was 40 years old. I was broke. I had 3 young children, did not leave my marriage with this, lifelong alimony program and great child support. I mean, we were both struggling. And so I had to reinvent. And the only thing I had really known up until this point in my life was waitressing and acting and modeling. I never did any other business. And so the first thing I did was real estate. I did that until 2008. The market crashed and I was living in a second home, multi-million-dollar ski resort town. So that was the first market to absolutely go. And from there, I got into the print procurement. And while I was in print procurement in New York, which I highly suggest everybody live and work in New York for 1 year out of their life, because I learned so much living there. But while I was there, I learned a lot about referral fees and referring business. And so I called the people that had done my husband and I's life insurance. I had become friends with, and I had been referring business, but I never asked for any referral fee. So I called them and I said, hey, I've been referring you a lot of business because they were the best. And I think I should get referral fees at this point. And they said, why don't you get your license? You know everybody. You do refer a lot of business. Why don't you get your license and we'll, partner up. So I did. I spent my weekends studying while I was doing the other job and got my license and started referring. But by 2011, I ended up doing life insurance full time. And by 2012, by the end of 2012, I was the #1 life agent for one of the carriers. I think it was AXA. And then the same thing with 13, 14. So in the life insurance industry, you could be captive. You could work. I could sell one product. I could sell Northwestern Mutual and just do that. But that's not what I do. I'm licensed with everyone. So I sell insurance across the board: Pac Life, AXA, Mass Mutual, you name it, I'm licensed. And so that kind of sets me apart. And then the other thing that I had going for me is that because of my entertainment background, one of my first calls was to the head of Warner Brothers. And I called him and he became my first client. I said, if I get you as a client, I know you'll refer me business. And then that became my other coin phrase, was no means maybe, because he kept saying, no, I already have somebody. No, no, no. And I kept saying, well, I'll call you in a week and we'll talk again. And I said, at least, introduce me or let people know that this is what I'm doing. And so that's kind of how I built my business. I built my business literally with this. I literally called every single person I know. And whether or not they did insurance with me, I knew that it would be in the back of their mind that if it ever came up, they'd refer me. And now most of my business just it's referral based. I get people calling me, asking me, are you still selling insurance? And that's it. That's a gift. I don't take that for granted. I have a beautiful network of people. You don't get clients overnight. And again, there's a lot of climbing and stuff that went on with that. But yes, I had 3 very hugely successful years in that business, which allowed me to do things that I had never done before, like travel with my kids and kind of go back into a creative mode. And in 2018, I decided, you know what, I had a good run with life insurance, and now I want to write a book. And I want to, and it's funny because I started out thinking that I was going to write a book about how to be the best salesperson, because that seemed to be what everybody was interested in, but it's not about that. It's really about what we talked about in the very beginning, which is reinventing, the climb, the struggle. What do you do when you're on your knees and you don't know which way to go? What do you do?
What do you do? Really, what do you do?
What do I do now? I pause. I do nothing. When in doubt, I do nothing. In the past, one of the things that I used to do that was not the best decision was I used to make these impulsive decisions. This didn't work out, then let's move, or let's change jobs, or let's change relationships, or let's change careers. It's like move, 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 move. And that doesn't serve anybody. I think when in doubt, do nothing. And so now I really pause before I make any major decision. I make sure I sleep on it. I write about it. I think about it. I don't do anything impulsively anymore. I think that just comes with maturity and from a lot of mistakes. I've made so many mistakes now that I know that if I feel like I'm being rushed into something or pushed into a corner to make a decision, I know that that usually 99% of the time is not going to be the right decision.
You studied some of the great life coaches, right? Or under some of the great life coaches. And I think you've taken a little bit from everybody because you're developing a life coach program, right? Could you talk to us a little bit about that? And is it going to be coinciding with the book?
Yes. So I am so grateful and so blessed that sorry about that.
It's live Zoom, honestly. Deborah,
this is live.
My dog is screaming in the background in case you don't hear Leo. So don't worry about it, really. It's all good. Go ahead.
I spent 2021, and I think it was November 2020, and all this stuff with COVID and then I remember I woke up in the middle of the night and I thought, I've done so many different programs in my life. I've worked with Tony Robbins. I've worked with Master Co. I've worked with longevity programs. I've worked with Keith Cunningham's, Joseph McClendon, Scott Harris. I mean, the list goes on. And so I decided, why don't I just get certified to be a life coach and go through that training. I want to go through this training that these people have gone through. And so I signed up and I went through the whole thing via Zoom in 2021. I spent about 8 weeks every day live on Zoom. I got up at 4:30 every morning and did this program and got my certification. And I didn't do it with the intention of being a life coach, but I did it with the intention of being able to really express a little bit more in my writing. I write a weekly blog, and my weekly blog is really leading up to my memoir. It's leading up to my story. So I write something each week that has to do with something that I've been through in my life. And what it's turned out is I woke up at like 2 a.m. one morning and I thought, oh my God, I know what my program is. And it's like, it's bits and pieces from everything that I've done throughout my life, whether it's a boot camp, a Tony Robbins seminar, or whatever. I took bits and pieces and I did a 90-day program and I wrote it out on a whiteboard and I did it myself. And it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done because this program I think is really geared for healing. And I think sometimes we like going back to rushing into impulsive things. Like I know for myself, I've always been in some type of relationship. And this was the first year of my life where I had no relationship. I didn't date. I didn't travel. I didn't date. All I did was this program to really heal from all these past energies. And that's really what my program is about. It's about healing from past stuff. We don't have to dwell on it. There's no need to dwell. It's over. It's done. But we can heal from it. And that's the beautiful thing. And so I did 90 days. And then after 90 days, I kept going. I did 6 months. Next thing I knew, I was writing it out. And so, yes, I'm putting together this 90-day program where people can work with me. I think I want to take 20 people through a test program. We're putting it together right now. And it has a lot to do with my weekly blog and the things that I do on a daily basis that I think help set me up to have a successful day. Because if I don't do these certain things, if I don't stay kind of consistent, I'm not completely rigid, but if I don't do certain things that are consistent, you can see where things can fall off track.
Right. So, that's for anything. That's with our eating, our exercise, our regime, because I love how you said, and I'm going to have to let you go in a minute, unfortunately, but I'm going to have to. Aging gracefully is a full-time job. I know that you must, but so I love this quote of yours. That's your other one as well.
Yep. And that
do
kind
you
of
have
came,
any?
that kind of
do you have any advice? Wait, we're stepping on. Hang on. Do you have any advice for people in terms of the aging is a full-time job? Because it's not just a full-time job here; it's a full-time job here, right?
It's an inside job. It's an
inside
there you job. Go. It really is. And I just turned 58, and I can tell you that I feel more purposeful and more energetic today than I did in my 40s. There's a reason for that, because I think that it is a full-time job. And when I said that, I was actually, because as we get older, it just becomes like, oh my God, it's like, I got to do my hair every 3 weeks and I got to, you have to keep up with all these things. And so the joke was, it's a full-time job, but really the job is the inside job, because what we're doing on the inside is showing up on the outside, no matter what. It just is. I can tell when I meet people in person just by having a conversation and looking at them, what's going on, because everything that's going on the inside is showing up on the outside. And so I can see, I have a lot of friends that are my age or older, and they haven't aged as well. And it's because the stuff on the inside isn't getting worked out properly. And so I spend a lot of time with that. I'm really intrigued by longevity and how we can reverse that aging. I think it's really mindset. It really is.
No, it is. There's no doubt about it, because I'm at the same place you are in life, and just in, how I think about how I want to move forward about life, and taking all the experiences in my life and transitioning to maybe help somebody else. So the name of the blog is Deb's Den, right?
Yep. It's Deb's Den because, men have their man caves or people have their I hate to use gender identities, but for me, I thought, what, it's Deb's Den. It's kind of my space to share and be authentic. And hopefully, I've had a lot of people come on my journey. I have people email me, when are you doing your program? When are you doing your program? I'm working on it. It's going to happen. I've been.
Well, then you'll keep us updated, right? Because
Absolutely.
we'd love to have you back, because when someone's had so much experience in life, professionally and personally, and survived, right? And you're
Yes.
still smiling and you're still
Yep.
thriving, and you're a mom of 3 kids, a single mom of 3 kids.
Yes.
I want to come to Deb's Den too. I think that's just fantastic. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you. I love it.
really-
Come on the journey. Come on the journey.
Yeah, I will. And that's why I wanted to have you on, because I want to inspire other people. Like, gosh, we sure are going like this, especially nowadays. It's real hard to figure
Yeah.
out our next step with what's going on in the world. But you've managed to do it. And I want other people to check out your website, check out the Den, and wait for the program to come out, the book and everything else. So we'll keep you coming back. I really,
Wonderful. I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
any parting words, Deborah?
Yeah, I would just say, start your day with gratitude every day. Every day is a gift. And, for me, I don't take it for granted that I wake up in the morning. And the first thing I say is, good morning, God. Thank you. And whether you believe in God, angels, universe, energy, sun, Mother Earth, it doesn't matter to me, but just be thankful for it.
Yeah. Oh, Deborah, thanks for joining us today. Deborah Driggs, please look up her website, look her up
Thank
on
you.
all social media, and stay tuned for her program that's going to be coming out soon, and her book. A lot of lessons that we can learn from as well. So thank you again. And now we're going to go to a commercial. I told you that we were sponsored by Sambuco today. So we're going to end our show, Deborah Kobylt Live, with our commercial. And thank you very much for tuning in. See you next time. Bye-bye.
There's nothing more important than taking care of yourself, and if you're not feeling your best, you can't be your best for anyone else either. I've been using Sambuco to help support my immune system, and I've noticed a huge difference in how I feel. I'm more alert, I have more energy, and I believe that's because Sambuco is powered by nature's superfruit, black elderberry. It's good for me, and it's combined with vitamin C and zinc too. I feel that Sambuco really helps to keep my immune system strong, particularly during these times. And they have these super delicious all-natural gummies, powder to add to my water, chewable tablets, and a syrup that tastes amazing. Get 15% off of your order of $9.99 or more at sambuco.com. Use DEB15 for your special 15% off discount. That's sambuco.com and mark down DEB15. And join me in keeping a healthy immune system with black elderberry.